Welcome to the Caribbean Property Investing Podcast, where we share real-life experiences for successful Caribbean property entrepreneurs. Learn about their successes, challenges, and strategies to help you create your plan for financial freedom. Now let's get started.
I love my community. It teaches you the importance of being together even through difficult times. Business owners doing their best to make it through. Fishermen and farmers working hard to put food on our tables. Nurses caring for the sick shows me who we are made of. People who care. I guess it's about growing together.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maurice John. We recently did an interview talking about the real estate market in Vincent and the Grenadines. But last week, Friday, the 9th of April, we had a volcanic eruption. La Soufriere, which have been giving us warning since last year, erupted, and we are now in the thick of the eruptions. We've had several explosive eruptions since, and thousands of people have been evacuated into shelters and private homes to try to avoid the damage that has taken place from the volcanic eruption. In St. Vincent, we are facing some challenges, some very unique challenges, because we source, for example, major challenge on the island is water supply. We source water from the rivers, and because of the ashfall that is affecting most of the island, the rivers have been covered with ash and we are out of water. Most of the island is out of water. So our major need right now in St. Vincent is water. So if you're out there and in your island, or wherever you are, you can source water, you can send it to St. Vincent, that'll be greatly appreciated. So if you want to help us, you can send food. I could be a contact person. You can give me a call, 492-6128, or you can pop me an email, Maurice@caribbeandreams.com, and reach out to me and see how we can collaborate to assist in this time. Thank you for any assistance you can provide, and I hope that we all can work together to make this process somewhat easier for us as Vincentians.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Caribbean Property Investing Podcast. In this week's episode, we have a first. We have our first mobile interview from a gentleman who is an innovator, a maverick, a creator, who's been making waves in the beautiful islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today we have with us Mr. Property, Mr. Maurice John. Maurice, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
All right, so my name is Maurice John. I hail from the best island in the Caribbean, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 32 islands and keys. And I am in the real estate field. I have a real estate business called Caribbean Dreams. We focus on selling properties to people, property management, and we are doing developments also.
So Maurice, one of the reasons I contacted you was because there was something unique or uncommon about you as a person. A lot of realtors generally are not property developers. I don't know which one happens. If which one happens first, is it that you're a realtor who see that probably there's great profits to be made if development is done right and you decide to go into development, or if you're a developer and you say, you know what, I'm giving too much of my commission away, let me go into real estate. What was it for you? What got you into real estate development?
Okay. I would have to give you a longer backstory. I don't know if I could. Right. Okay, good. So I went to university. I went to Barbados. I studied at Kville. So I did computer science. Right. That was a few years ago. I'm out of school maybe about 4 years now. So that was about 7 years ago. I was in Kville. And when I looked at the landscape technologically, I felt that, especially in real estate, there was a lot missing and lacking when it comes to doing real estate in a technologically advanced way. So, in terms of websites weren't popular. If you were looking for property, you had to call the agent, get an Excel sheet. You're just seeing the size of the property, the location, no images, and then you have to just have this guessing game. Okay, maybe I'll be interested in this one. Let's go see this one. So it was really behind in terms of, you know, the technological part of it all. So I felt that there was an opportunity there. I believe in collaboration. So, and in terms of how this all started, it all started off with a group of friends. I say, yo, let's work together on a regional standpoint where we can form a company, work together with each other, and do some business across the region. I'm Adventist, so being at UE, I had a group of friends. I pitched the idea to them. So let's walk across the region to get something done. When I came home, I registered the business and I started. I didn't start immediately, but I started the business about 2 years after, right? Now, why the real estate field? Because my dad, he unfortunately passed away last year, but he did property valuations. So he would go all over St. Vincent and value properties all over the country. So we were really close. I'm Maurice John Jr. He's Maurice John Sr. So everywhere he go, I went, and we go all over St. Vincent, measuring houses, valuing houses together. So that got me interested in the property side of it from a valuation perspective, understanding the value of property, understanding why I shouldn't build a house that is $300,000 in a village that only has houses at $150,000. Understanding, what makes a good property, what makes a property valuable in the eyes of a value in the valuation standpoint. So that drew me to real estate, and then the technological background of me loving IT, me having a bachelor's degree in computer science. Marrying those two seemed in my mind quite natural. When it came to real estate development came because I saw a lot of mistakes being made by Vincentians. Vincent's not like Barbados, Bajans. You buy a nice car and they go with the car. House is not, that the biggest thing. You might see a boathouse with a BMW parked to the front. If you come to St. Vincent, everybody love big houses. And sometimes when you meet the people who own these big houses, the bank owns St. Vincent. So the banks give out big mortgages, and you have people at the end of the month, they cannot sustain any kind of lifestyle outside of having a house. So a house in St. Vincent almost seem like a prison. So you are a prisoner to this mortgage, holding this mortgage and just having this nice house. So I got into development with the premise that, okay, let me build some houses, um, and sell to people, and also give them counsel that your entire salary should not be a mortgage. Let me let people know that, okay, if savings is to grow, you must have some money to go out and eat, so then the nightlife could develop. And also looking at green technology. So in my plans for development, I would include the things that I want to include: solar water heaters, solar power, having light switches that you could turn off from your phone if you forgot to turn them off, having light switches that could tell you how much energy you're burning. That is it. That is the angle that I was coming from with development. So it rooted in valuation, and it sprung off into technology and green energy. So that's my backstory.
So Man, you said quite a few things, and I know that um, our audience would be asking the first question. You said something very early on about your introduction to real estate being rooted in the valuation because of your late dad, um, and you, based on your time with him, you knew or you learned what makes a good house. For our audience, I know they probably would want to know from your experience working with your father, what, in his opinion, in your opinion, makes a good house from the valuation perspective.
From a valuation perspective, it's all about location, 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 location. If you're going to build a house, you should know your budget for one. If I'm building a house that is $250,000, I need to put that property in a neighborhood that either matches or surpasses that 250. I need to figure out, okay, what schools are close by? Is there a clinic close by? Is there supermarkets close by? Because some of the things that people don't take into consideration is, let's say for example, one of the major reasons why properties go into foreclosure, for example, is you have a couple madly in love, they get married, they buy a property together, and something happens in the relationship and they have to go their separate ways. And you have one party that is left paying the mortgage, and then you end up in a case where you have to resell that property. Now, if you made a poor decision when you are building your house, let's say you built a property that is $450,000, and all of your neighbors around have houses at $200,000. For you to offload that property, it is going to be hard to justify, even though the steel, the concrete, the roof, everything says 450. When somebody who has the capacity to pay 450 shows up at that property, and they have a look around and they say, I am not going to spend 450 here. And you're going to end up in a situation where, let's say you're 15 years into paying this mortgage, and you have a substantial amount left on your principal. When you sell that house and now somebody asks for a significant discount based on the fact that everything around you is not 450, you might end up in a situation where you sell that house and have nothing. And you find a lot of people end up in those kind of situations. Not only divorce causes that, but you have cases where people die and one person is left carrying the burden of a loan, or anything that comes up that you have to then resell that property. These little decisions that are ignored at the start tends to come back and bite you. Something as simple as making sure that there's proper road. If you buy a property that doesn't have a proper road, you find that the foreclosure market have quite a bit of properties that have deficiencies and they sit vacant and can't be sold. Then you have cases where people, they build a house at 250, and then every time they make a little bit of money, they add on, add on, add on, add on, and they create a complicated vision of what they want. And then the property balloons in value. But when you look at it and say, can I get this sold back? Problems here, the sold back. Because the house is patch up, patch up, patch up, patch up, patch up. And nobody around has the kind of house that this person have. Or something as simple as, I have 5,000 square feet of land and the entire house is almost touching the walls of my fencing. So you have no yard space, which also makes it a very unattractive property. And if you have neighbors that are literally window to window, you have all of these several factors that make real estate unattractive from a valuation perspective. And you have two types of valuations. You have the market value and you have the regular valuation where you're looking at brick and mortar. This the replacement value. So to replace this property, is going to be $250,000. But if I put it on the market is going to tell me this property is $150,000 based on what is around it. So understanding that is very important when you make your real estate decisions.
So I mean, I think that you've had uh, a tremendous experience, a path to becoming a developer and an agent or vice versa. Having the grounding in valuation, which I've always said, you know, if I have a son interested in property, someone in your family must be a valuator, because to me, these people sit down and they get called by the bank, come and value the property, and those valuations can determine the quality of your life. If your life is based on an investment you're going to make based on that valuation. Tell us about your first development. The idea,
Right.
you went to your friends, the idea, what you were offering, price point, and how did that work out?
Okay. So about 2 years ago, I saw a piece of land about $270,000 for 2 acres of land close to the airport. I looked at it. I said, you know what? Let me go with a partner and buy this land. So I bought the land. Initially, my goal was to do 11 houses and a park. And I spent 2019 into 2020, I believe. We did the road and we had to make adjustments. So right now, unfortunately, COVID hit and I sold about 5 lots. Sold 5 lots. I have, so out of the $270,000 I borrowed, I have about $30,000 to $40,000 left on my loan. So I had to reduce the project and do 6 houses. So I'm hoping to start those 6 houses later this year. But we're basically into the profit stage with that. But I finished the road, we do all of the amenities already, and we're looking to start to build houses. Um a lot of the clients who wanted these properties lived overseas, and COVID just took most of those clients. But we still have clients, and we have submitted to the planning division to approve those plans, and we're moving forward. So I am confident that by next year we will have at least a few houses built, and we will be into our second project where we just sign our mortgage to buy another 2 acres of land to do another development.
My question to you: when you bought the 2 acres, the first one, why didn't you decide just to do land sale only? Why did you do house and land packages?
Because I didn't want people to make poor decisions. I saw a vision for how that community would look, and if you could, I'm hoping that you could splice in the designs of the houses, very modern, beautiful houses. Um, One of the problems in St. Vincent is, I don't know if you have it in St. Lucia, but we don't have house numbers. So we don't have a delivery system where you could say I live in Mount Pleasant, house number 2 on this street. So I wanted to do a full development where you have a street, you have a house number, you have uniformity in design, and this uniformity in design and closeness in price point allows for property value to increase rather than decrease. So if I invest in a property today, real estate, as much as the house might have if you don't maintain it, might decrease in value, as long as you do the right things. If you have a properly maintained community, that properly maintained community should increase in value over time. So your investment would be justified in a few years when you look at back at the rise in the value of your property. Instead of somebody coming and building a downstairs, having it unfinished, unpainted, and that does totally put a hit into your property value. I wanted to maintain that uniformity and consistency in a community.
If you're offering house and land packages, how are you managing the construction part of it?
Okay, so for the construction part of it, what we do is we offer clients to buy the land, and we offer them a construction contract. So you go to the bank that lent us the funds, they also came on board with us to, if we have clients who want to build, they could go and get a loan. So the clients, they sign up for account with the bank, and they will get their loans through that institution. For our second project, we're hoping to partner with, well, for the first one, Teachers Credit Union, a credit union here, lent us the funds, and was really good to us. We got a 25-year mortgage. Normally, you don't get 25 years, you get 10 years. And for our second project, we got a term loan where the bank gives us 3 years to do the project, and we don't have to pay money on the principal. We just pay the interest. So friendly terms on both sides to help us with, you know, with the process.
My question, after listening to what you just said, is around the prioritization of the sales. Because the credit union was the source of the loan, was there a requirement for them to for you to sell to their members first or to give their members priority?
No, it was open. It was open. So they didn't have no hard fixed lock on us that we could sell to anybody we want to. So they were quite receptive to the project.
In St. Vincent, was the average um, price of a lot for somebody starting off in property? Let's say it could be a young couple,
A
somewhere
young
fairly urban.
Right. So what the piece of land that we bought first in spring. So it's 2 acres of land. We cut it up into lot sizes about 6,500, and we sell at $10 a square foot. For our second project, we're hoping to cut between 6,500 and 7,000 also, because the average comfortable buying of a two income home, people tend to look between $60,000 to $80,000 to spend on land. It could go up to $100,000 too. So between 60 and $100,000 is a comfortable starting for a piece of land in St. Vincent. And then you're looking at then building a house about 13 to 1400 square feet that could give you comfortably 3 bedrooms with a master and an ensuite washroom. Then you're looking to borrow about $200,000 to get that done, with a grand total of about $300,000 for a home.
That's fairly competitive and attractive in Saint Lucia. $300,000 would probably not give you house and land in a an area that is in the up and coming north of the island. You might have to go a little more suburban, a little more rural for 300,000 house and land.
Well, you see, the thing is, even anywhere you go in St. Vincent, let's say you go to we have the affluent areas in St. Vincent, the Cane Gardens and the Queens Drive. Let's say you buy a piece of land for 6,000 square feet of land. Lands in those areas, you might see them fall to $20 a square foot. You're looking for a 6,000 lot. You're looking at about $120,000, if my math is correct, right? $20 times 6,000, 120. And in St. Vincent, to build a property, the cost per square foot is about 145 to 165 per square foot to build. So our advantage here in St. Vincent is that our cost of labor is quite low. So you could get a comfortable property without spending much when it comes to the construction cost. So that is why you see that houses, you could get a comfortable 3 bedroom house for about 300 to $350,000 in a
That that's
nice community.
that's definitely very very attractive. Hopefully, our Caribbean wide listeners, may call you, make an offer in St. Vincent. Tell us some of the terms or typical terms in St. Vincent for land by itself and house and land for deposit. And you say 10 years, not more than 25 years. But what kind of cash deposit and interest rate we're looking at right now in St. Vincent?
All right. So in terms of deposit, it's normally 10%, but I try to work with clients, and sometimes we go down to 3% with clients, and sometimes we even, because in St. Vincent, a large is not as developed as St. Lucia and Barbados, and who have a really good tourism sector, and the public sector is thriving and strong. So a large part of our workforce works with the government. So our public sector is quite big. And one of the things that our national bank does is they provide 100% loans for anyone who works with the government. So if a client walks in and doesn't have a deposit, because they work with the government, they could go and secure a 100% loan. So sometimes we allow the client to go to the bank, approach the bank, and try to see if they could secure a loan. And then we use that acceptance letter as their deposit. For clients overseas, that might be different. You take your 10% deposit. So you have 30 days to make a deposit, 90 days to close the sale. So that is the standard terms. But for government workers, it's a bit more flexible because you have that avenue to approach the bank and get 100% loan. In terms of interest rates, our interest rates right now you could get interest rate all the way down to 6 point something percent, or and between 6 point maybe 6.5, 6.7, 6.9, around there, all the way up to 10% interest. All right. And in terms of the term, if you're buying a piece of land, usually it is 10 years to repay. If you're taking a mortgage to build a property, it's 25 years.
In terms of the interest rate for house and land packages, is it the same or lower than land? You told me land was between 6.2 or 5 up until 10. What's the typical or average interest rate for house and land package in St. Vincent?
They're about the same. They're about the same. They're about the same. But you might find that land might be more. But the lowest that you will get, the lowest that I'm seeing on the market right now, is in the 6 point something. I believe every banks are trying to compete with each other, but I have not seen them fall to 5% yet. But it's a 6 point something percent range of most of the times.
Across the Caribbean, it certainly ranges from as low as 4% all the way up. In St. Lucia, I think for the first time in our history, we are sub 5%. I've never gotten under 5%, but 5% is low as I've received. But that's the first time in my lifetime it's been so low.
Yeah, I wish we could hit, but we haven't gotten there yet. I'm hoping that the low mortgage breeze might go over to St. Vincent. But we're not there yet. But maybe we'll get there as we recover from COVID.
Going back to your property development hat and being brave
Mm.
enough to not just do land development but house and land development, what were maybe your three top challenges that you face on embarking on that journey?
All right. So one of the biggest problems when you're at building houses, finding the right people to come with you. Um, Fortunately, I have a good set of people who have a good bit of experience, and being with my dad for so long, we did a lot of progress reports for banks. And progress reports, you have to follow the construction of a property from inception to completion. So we have done so many of these progress reports that we could really know what it takes and how much money it takes to do a project. And I have a good set of friends, a good bit of friends in the industry that could help and make sure that the process is smooth. The company that I established for our second project, one, my brother is an engineer, and I have another engineer on the team. My other brother is a lawyer. I have a friend, well, who owns 20% of the second company, who does cabinetry. Another person, another partner in the business who owns 20%, he does electricals. He could do solar installation. So we have a good team and we have a good, um, two good contractors who have really deep experience in construction. So it's having the right team. That is where the problem lies. If you do not have a good team to execute a project.
But even when you have a team, and especially some of them being family and close friends,
Mhm.
um, don't you from time to time come up with some conflicts? And how do you also incentivize each person, because they are individual professionals, but they also form collectively part of a larger entity?
Well, I don't think I'll have any problems with them, man. I think that we are professional and we don't have any problems. I don't know. I trust that we'll have a good relationship. And we're all Christian people. We're all Adventists. Strange enough, we're just a bunch of Adventist people who work together. So I banking on our good Christian beliefs and faith and principles.
Okay, but my advice is make sure you have some contracts there as well. But you have a lawyer.
Right,
So
right. Yeah.
so so Mr. Property, we still in your property developer hat, eh? What would you say to someone watching you, knowing that you are a realtor but you're also a developer? Let's talk about the developer part. What would you say? Someone watching you saying, okay, how do I get started? What would you say to someone like that? How do they get started?
It's simple. I would say I go on every real estate website and I try to find deals, trying to find properties that I could make the investment with. Having good relationships is very important also. Uh, having a business, it is easier if you have a group with you to go to the bank to borrow a set of money to do a project. So you have to, and I say this all the time, in my latest video that I did on real estate development, having a good you could have good friends, but looking within your friendship circle, your family circle, and identifying people who are good people to surround yourself with to execute projects. You might be lucky where you by yourself could get something done, but in terms of the financial burden of getting it started, the experience of getting it started, it is good to surround yourself with a good team to get these things going. Luckily for me that when I was doing my first development, I could have asked my dad, okay, what is a good offer to put in on this property? Um, who do I check to do the road? You might not. So if you're putting together a team, know a good lawyer, know somebody in the valuation space. When it comes to getting your surveys done, I grew up in the same neighborhood with the person who surveyed the property for me. So I was able to avoid some of the upfront costs with a project because it was my childhood friend. Yo, brethren, I need the land survey. I go pay you when money come in. Having those relationships is very important. The old saying, "No man is an island, sticks home." No man is an island. You have to farm those connections so you can get things done, as best as possible.
Wow. So Mr. Property, this is our first mobile session, first mobile meeting, mobile podcast ever. Um, I saw some of what you did in St. Vincent, quite creative in terms of your marketing for real estate. Um, what do you say to traditional realtors, older realtors, about the new face of real estate, not just St. Vincent, but in the entire Caribbean, which is someone like you?
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm actually mobile right now is because I just came from looking at a piece of land. I saw somebody post on Facebook they have 2 acres of land to sell for $120,000. So I call the post and say, I can't meet you. But Sunday afternoon, I'm coming to see this piece of land, and it's a nice piece of land, but it's more for agricultural purposes. And I don't mind. I as much as I don't mind doing agriculture, I actually told the lady that somebody checked her and want the land before me. But if the person falls through, I'm certain I could pull together a team of people who have experience in agriculture so that we could, find a way to utilize that property for agriculture. So that's why we're mobile right now. I just came from looking at property to see how I could use it for some sort of purpose. In terms of the modern age, people want people live on their phones. I can remember when cell phones became popular. My parents used to tell us, "You guys live on your phones. I don't understand what is happening." Then I see slowly but surely my parents with their phones in their hands, older people with their phones in their hand on social media, on Instagram, every new platform that comes out that the young people are on, the old people are jumping on it too. That says something. This device that if we lose it, we have a heart palpitation is very powerful. And it's not just for entertainment purposes. We, our entire lives live on our phones. So if your entire life lives on your phone, something as important as real estate must be packaged inside of that. Those four wall screens. So you have to go where the people are. You have to do social media. Video is it. People don't like to read. So video is more attractive to people. They see a nice clip on Facebook, they sit down, they watch it, you catch their attention. So you have to adapt with those times. So me understanding where the trend is, I go and fish where the fish is. And I would advise anybody who's doing the business to throw your net where the fish is.
Well said, well said, well said. Thank you, Mr. Property from St. Vincent, Caribbean Dreams on Facebook. That's where you can get more information on his real estate investment firm. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of the Caribbean Property Investing Podcast. Check us out on all social media. Remember to check out our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and share. Remember, everyone needs somewhere to live. See you next time.
I love my community. It teaches you the importance of being together even through difficult times. Business owners doing their best to make it through. Fishermen and farmers working hard to put food on our tables. Nurses caring for the sick shows me who we are made of. People who care. I guess it's about growing together.
Congratulations and thank you for tuning in to the Caribbean's first property investing podcast. We want to help Caribbean people create wealth and achieve financial freedom through property investing. Our show provides general advice based on personal experiences and is for educational purposes only. For more information, resources, and past episodes, visit us at CaribbeanPropertyInvesting.com. Remember to click the subscribe button so you never miss a show. Let's go.